Doing nothing is a lesson from the Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi, who is a master of letting things be. Zhuangzi believed that nature has its own way of doing things, and when we try to mess with it, we only end up making things miserable. Imagine nature as this perfect self-sustaining system, and then here we come, trying to speed things up or change the course, only to realize we might be doing more harm than good. In our world today, where being busy is often seen as a badge of honor, the idea of just doing nothing seems almost wrong. We're always told to be on the move, to keep pushing, as if stopping for a moment means we're not achieving enough. But here's the thing, constant interference isn't always the answer. There's an amazing story about the Taoist, which is the perfect concept of effortless action, or wu-wei. It tells the story of a farmer who tried to help his crops grow by pulling on them. While it sounds helpful, it's not. It didn't work. In fact, he ended up damaging them. This story is a lot like us in our everyday lives. We worry so much. We spend so much time thinking if this and that happened. What if after I did this happened? We push, we pull, we stress, and sometimes we don't even see the results we hope for. But when we step back and allow things to unfold naturally, we often find that problems sort themselves out. Life finds its own balance, and what we once saw as setbacks might actually lead to something better. The grass will grow again with time. Not all that seems bad is bad, and what we chase after might not always be what's best for us. The universe has its own flow, and trying to control everything is like trying to hold on to water. It's just going to slip through your fingers. So what if, instead of always trying to do more, we learn the art of doing nothing? By doing so, we might just find that things work out in their own perfect way without us needing to push them along. And that's what we're going to learn in this video. And if you are really serious about your self-improvement journey, you don't want to miss this. Keep watching Why You Care So Much and How to Stop It. Stop finding happiness. The philosopher Zhuangzi noticed something odd about how people tried to find happiness. It seemed the more they chased after it, the more miserable they became. How many times have you imagined going somewhere, doing something specific, and saying the right things, only to end up doing nothing and saying almost nonsense? We've all been there. We run around extremely stressed, trying to grab onto happiness as if it's a trophy to win. But Zhuangzi pointed out the problem with that plan. The chase itself was making people's lives miserable. Let's take Steve Jobs as an example. His ambition is not to make tons of money or have a lot of power to control. And sure, he achieved all that, but there was something more to his story. One of the best speeches Steve Jobs gave was at Stanford. He shared how all the unexpected stuff that happened in his life actually helped him succeed. He never planned it all out, but somehow it all worked out. Zhuangzi would totally agree along to that because he believed the best things in life come when you're not trying too hard to grab them. Steve Jobs said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do." That's pretty much what Taoism is about. Instead of running around trying to catch happiness, it's more about letting it find you by doing things you love. Steve was all in on making stuff he was passionate about, even when things got tough. Moreover, just think about it. When we're all caught up in getting more money, fame, or power, it might feel good for a bit. But then comes the worry about losing what we've got. Zhuangzi puts it like this: those who think that wealth is the proper thing for them cannot give up their revenues. Those who seek distinction cannot give up the thought of fame. Those who cleave to power cannot give the handle of it to others. While they hold their grasp on those things, they are afraid of losing them. When they let them go, they are grieved, and they will not look at a single example, from which they might perceive the folly of their restless pursuits. Such men are under the doom of heaven. What he's saying is, holding on to these things tightly makes us scared of losing them. And when we do let go, we're bummed out. We're so caught up in this cycle that we miss out on the simple solution right in front of us. Zhuangzi suggests we stop chasing happiness as if it's something out there to be caught. Because when we stop making happiness our end goal, something spectacular happens. We no longer stress about not having what we want or worry about losing what we've got. Happiness becomes a part of our lives simply because we're not obsessed with catching it. Just look at your past and remember all the unexpected things that happened. The unexpected job, the unexpected friendship, the unexpected money found while walking down the road. Most likely, these are the most memorable moments of your life, but we didn't chase them. We just received them. Chasing after success doesn't really bring happiness. Instead, doing what you love, keeping it simple, and being open to where life takes you might just be the secret sauce to a fulfilling life. Achieve emptiness. The Taoist philosopher Liezi has a different approach to what we usually chase in life. You know how we all love getting a pat on the back? Being told we did great? Feels good, right? But Liezi invites us to look at things from another angle. Liezi noticed that we often run after praise and approval from others, but he believed there's something much more valuable than that: emptiness. Now, before you think he's talking about giving up on everything, hear this out. Liezi's kind of emptiness isn't about having nothing. It's about being free from the constant need for others to tell us we're doing great. Imagine how much less stressed we'd be if we weren't always trying to win everyone's approval. He pointed out that a lot of the time, the things we get praised for aren't entirely because of what we've done. There's a bunch of stuff involved, like being in the right place at the right time, or just the way we were born. Take Instagram models, for example. They get loads of likes and compliments, but a lot of that is down to genetics and fitting into what society thinks looks good at the moment. So, really, how much of that praise is about something they've actually done? Liezi says, if you do not know how to keep still in this crazy world, you will be drawn into all kinds of unnecessary trouble. He's urging us to take a step back and see things for what they really are, often pretty empty. The praise we chase, the stuff we think is so important, a lot of it doesn't have much substance when you really look at it. The $300,000 watch will always tell the same time as the $50 one. The $35,000 car will take us from point A to point Z just like the $500,000 one can. This chase for things that don't really matter, according to Liezi, just distracts us from finding real peace and happiness. If we could embrace the emptiness and accept it instead of running from it, we might just find ourselves in a much calmer, more peaceful place. And a perfect example of this story of Robert Greene, the author of 5 best-selling books, including The 48 Laws of Power and Mastery. Robert Greene had over 80 jobs, working in Hollywood and construction, and there was a point in his life when he couldn't go home because he didn't have any money. But in 1995, while working at Fabrica, an art and media school, Joost Elfers, a book packer, asked him if he had any ideas for a book. Then, strangely, he naturally pitched the idea of not outshining your master, explaining the concept of power. Elfers loved the idea and told Greene that he would pay him to live while writing half of the book. Robert accepted the offer and borrowed money from his parents. Mind you, Robert Greene was already 36 years old at this moment. Then, after Greene finished the book, his editor told him to change his style because it was so unconventional. But he and Elfers refused to do so, and the rest is history. When the book came out, it became the Bible for power. It was so good to the point that it was banned in prisons. Then he became one of the most respected and well-known writers of the current era. Greene's writing style is out of this world. And if you've ever read one of his books, I know you know what I'm saying. He's so honest and he hides nothing when writing. He will tell you what you need to know and what you need to look at in order to see through other people, avoiding being the victim of narcissist and psychopath people. Now, what if Greene had listened to his editor? What if he'd changed his style and molded it to what other people wanted, just to impress them? I guess you know the answer. So from now on, follow what's inside of you. Don't be afraid to show your uniqueness and weirdness in what you are doing in your life. And by doing so, you will live according to your own law and not by other people's law. And the worry will vanish in thin air. No inner law. Lao Tzu and Shuangzi emphasize the idea of understanding the difference between having your own inner law versus being ruled by the external world. Lao Tzu pointed out that people who are always stretching themselves, trying to stand on their tiptoes, don't stand firmly. It's like when you're reaching for something that's just out of grasp. You're unstable, wobbly, and not really getting anywhere. Shuangzi took his idea further. The person who listens to their inner voice isn't swayed by others' opinions. They're the captain of their own ship, steering through their life based on their values and beliefs. On the flip side, there's the person who's always affected by what's happening around them. If they're going great, they're on top of the world. But when things take a turn for the worse, so does their mood. Shuangzi says, when he tries to extend his power over objects, these objects gain control over him. It's like you're trying to juggle too many balls, and instead of controlling them, they start controlling you. You end up being this person who's always straining, always stretching, just trying to keep up. And to understand it deeply, let's take the story of Dao, for example. She's an ultra-talented artist who has an amazing connection with her art. It's like her way of talking to the world, showing her deepest thoughts and feelings through her paintings. They're full of life, color, and emotion, kind of like capturing a piece of her soul on canvas. But as Dao becomes more known and her art gets more attention, she starts feeling an extreme amount of pressure. Everyone, from art galleries to her own family, starts telling her what to do. They all have ideas about what will sell and what she should create. Everyone around her is trying to steer her life's direction. And Dao tries to please everyone, making art that fits what they want. However, it doesn't feel right. Her art starts losing its spark, and Dao feels like she's just going through the motions. She lost her way because she's letting all these outside voices dictate her life. She's juggling too much, trying to catch everyone's approval, and it's just not working. Then she has this light bulb moment. She realizes that it's not about chasing after what everyone else thinks is right. It's about listening to that little voice inside of you, your own inner compass. So Dao decides to shake off all that noise and go back to making art her way, for herself. And it becomes like magic. Her art becomes more real, more her than ever. People can see the difference. It's deeper, more genuine. Sure, not everyone gets it at first. Some folks are confused, maybe even a bit critical. But Dao stands strong, like a tree that bends in the wind but doesn't break. She realizes that sticking to her inner truth makes her happier and, surprisingly, brings her even more success. So instead of focusing so much on what's outside, we should turn our attention inward. It's not the external world that dictates how we feel. It's our own minds. Think about that. If we're always looking for happiness in things we can control, we're going to spend a lot of time feeling frustrated and unfulfilled. But if we start focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, we find that contentment isn't as elusive as we thought. We're powerless against fate. Stop trying to control it. Zhuangzi tells us the story of an archer. When this guy is just practicing, he's hitting bullseyes left and right easily. But the moment he's shooting for a prize, he gets all tense, and his shots go all over the place. Why? It's not that his skills vanish, it's his mind getting in the way. Zhuangzi said, he thinks more of winning than of shooting, and the need to win drains him of power. Adding to that, Liezi shares another story about a man from the kingdom of Qi who's terrified that the sky might fall or the earth might crack open. His friend tries to chill him out by saying, it won't happen. But then, a sage comes along and says, there's a tiny chance it could happen, but why waste time worrying about it? Liezi puts it all into perspective. It's nonsense even to think about whether heaven and earth can or cannot be destroyed. Whether they will perish or not is something we don't know. If heaven and earth will not perish, that's great. We can live our lives without worry. However, if they will perish, that's something we can't do much about. So why worry about it? For us to understand it clearly, here's the story of Lai. Lai has this incredible talent for playing the piano. For her, music is more than just notes and rhythms. It's a way of expressing her deepest emotions. When she plays alone, it's like magic. The music just flows through her, and it's as natural and easy as breathing. But then, Lai gets this amazing opportunity to perform at a really big, fancy concert. This is the kind of chance that could change everything for her. You'd think she'd be over the moon, right? Which she was at first, but as the concert gets closer, Lai starts to freak out. She can't stop thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Instead of feeling excited about sharing her music, she's terrified of messing up and what everyone will think. When the big night arrives, Lai steps onto the stage, feeling nervous to the point that her hands are shaking. She plays all the right notes, but the magic isn't there. The music feels stiff, and it's missing the passion that usually makes it special. Lai was so caught up in worrying about impressing everyone else that she lost the joy of playing music for its own sake. This proves to us how easy it is to get caught up in our own fears and worries, especially when we're thinking about the future or trying to meet other people's expectations. By letting go of our need to control everything and our fear of the unknown, we can find a sense of peace and happiness. We spend so much energy worrying about things we can't control, like fate, when in reality, worrying doesn't change a thing. Whether it's the fear of sky falling, losing a job, or a relationship ending, we assume the worst. But who's to say what's really bad or good? Often, we don't know what's around the corner, and sometimes, what we fear might just lead to something amazing. Lastly, we don't have the ability to control everything, and that's okay. What matters is how we choose to live right now, in this moment, without letting the fear of what might or might not happen hold us back.